As a photographer, do you need a website? Yes. No. Maybe. Let's talk about it. Hello again, everybody. I'm Rusty with Rusty Brown Photography. Thanks for coming back to the channel, where today I want to talk about whether or not as a photographer you need a website, right? So let's look at the yes, the no, and the maybe, and let's do it in reverse order. If you're a straight Instagram shooter, that's all you do is you shoot and post directly to Instagram, no, you don't need a website at all. That's what Instagram is for, and you should be good to go there. So I'm going to spend most of this conversation talking about the maybe and the yes. The maybe comes into play if you want to get a little more out of your photography than a social media platform can provide you. The primary purpose of Instagram is social media using photography as the medium. So it's a social platform first, a photography platform second. As a photographer, you may want to get more out of it, but you may not want a website. So there's what I call the maybe space, which would be something like a photography sharing website. Before we get into that though, let's take a look at a couple of images that I think don't fit the Instagram shape format requirement, if you will. When you look at this image, there's a lot going on here, but I like to use negative space, and you'll see that in a lot of my images. Like, you have someone who's asleep with three teenagers behind him, totally oblivious to him being there. They're focused on Instagram. Guy in the background on the phone, a couple of people walking by. The negative space is important to me because it tells the story. Like to the right of his feet and to the left of his head. To me, that makes this photograph tell a particular story. And if I had to make it square or vertical for Instagram, I don't think the story would be the same. You have this image that I took of the Colosseum. The negative space, particularly on the left, is important to the success of the image because I'm shooting through those portals so you can see the sky going through as well as to the left. If I had to square this up by cropping it in from left to right, I don't think it would tell the same story. This is a particularly strong one that doesn't fit into the Instagram platform either. This shot of Serena shows strength, power, and motion. Again, the negative space is behind her. If you look behind her right foot, you get a feel for how far in she is from the baseline. If you look all the way to the right on the edge of the shot, you see the ball moving away from her. By the way, even at a super fast shutter speed, I could not slow that ball down. That's just how hard Serena hits that ball. It's amazing. But the shot is intended to depict power and grace and motion for tennis, and I wouldn't get that if I had to square this up in Instagram. In this shot of Jackie, a lot of negative space on the left, but as she sits on the counter, part of the story is actually the two candles that are all the way over on the left in the little glasses. I would have to cut those out if this image were on Instagram. In this shot of Victoria, very similar. I want the entire car, but I also want those cars in the background so you understand that we are in a garage that caters to high-end cars and that there's work going on. So in addition to the model who is centered, the shot is not centered and therefore would not look the same on Instagram. This one to me is particularly telling. The negative space to the right of the elderly woman who's front camera, as well as the negative space in the middle and to the left. So the story obviously is there's an elderly woman here who's clearly got a lot on her mind. She doesn't even know I'm standing there. She's so locked in and focused. But the story is the two businessmen on the left who just passed her before I took the shot, didn't even notice that she was there. They're engrossed in their conversation of the day. The two tourists way in the back with that negative space in the middle. That tells the story. If this were to be cropped for Instagram, I don't think the story would be the same or as powerful. In this particular shot of Hunter, it's literally a head to toe, left toe shot. I either would have to cut it at the waist to make it vertical or semi-square for Instagram. In that case, you would not get the whole body, and therefore you would not get what I wanted to represent in this shot. Lastly, and this one is the most important, this long exposure shot of Washington, D.C., which I actually shot from Virginia in Arlington looking over to D.C., has a lot going on with it. You probably can't see it here, but almost dead straightaway center is the U.S. Capitol. I believe you can see the Washington Monument on the right. You see traffic going away from me, represented by the red streaks, traffic coming towards me, represented by the white streaks, and you see an airplane coming left to right through the frame. You could cut this in the center or the left or the right. Either way you decided to do that, it would not fit into an Instagram style format because it's just too wide, it's too horizontal. And so before I get into that medium range of photography sharing websites, it's important that I try to give you an idea of one of the reasons that I'm not a big fan of using Instagram for photograph portrayal, because I think you just miss too much of the story. Another thing I would say is on any of those shots, if I left them in their original format and put them on Instagram and you have to pinch to see it, then you've already lost. You understand what I'm saying? If you have to pinch the shot to get it and then move around, that's not how I intended for it to be viewed. I want you to see it holistically in its entirety. With that, there are some photography-centric sites that are catering to photographers who want to post for themselves and other photographers, and you can still get some of that fit form and functionality, if you will, that you would see in an Instagram. I'll put a link in the description below to a recent article that I read that talked about the top 10 best photo sharing sites. The one that continues to come up in the number one slot is Flickr, which is one that I use as well. The thing that you get from a site like Flickr, as we look at a couple of images here, is you're going to see that the format of the photograph stays true to you in whichever way you shot it, whether you cropped in a little, not at all, 100% vertical, 100% horizontal, doesn't matter, it stays in its entirety. And you also get the opportunity to get those likes and those looks that you would on Instagram. Take a look at my Flickr profile here. This is my landing page. That you click on an album, you go down here, let's take a look at this one with JR, some clone work. Look at the bottom. You see the views, 598, just like you would on Flickr. Nice shot, clone work, JR's the batter and the catcher with the ball in midair. Another shot that I use with him is called the pitch. Look at the bottom, 569 views. He's the pitcher, the catcher, and the batter with the ball in midair here. And it's in its original format. Let's take a look at this shot of D. I got a lot of views on that, just under 4,000 of 4 times D watching a game in a clone shot like that on Flickr. Or if we go up here to the ones in model, we look at this shot that I took of Olivia underwater, 10,000 plus views. That's my most viewed shot ever taken. And 2, it's in its original format. One of the pluses of a site like Flickr is that you have groups, and this is something that you don't have in an Instagram world. And there are so many groups. I'm going to show you some of the ones that I belong to. But if you think about the algorithm, and I said we were going to talk about that a little bit, the Instagram algorithm is pushed towards high visibility, high viewed content. It's determining whether or not your image is interesting enough to send to others. Well, in the Flickr world, you have groups. So if you're a member of a given group, like, for example, cloning or composite type photography like I was showing you with JR and with D, you can join a group like that. And when you post an image that is of someone cloned, you get to say, like in the hashtag world of Instagram, here in Flickr, you would say, I want this posted also in the group called cloning. So not only does it show up on your timeline, but anyone who's interested in cloning will get to see that image because they're a member of the same group. Now, consequently, the people who like what you like and shoot in that particular genre, in this case cloning, are going to see it as opposed to your image getting lost on Instagram. So for groups, it's really easy. You pop down to you You select groups right here. You get to see the groups that I'm a member of, so many different types right there. You could also create a group of your own on any type of topic. But for today, let's look at the group called Clones that I'm a member of. One of my favorite images from this group comes from an artist named Christine McConnell. As you can see here, she's got over 338,000 views of this one image of 7 of her doing 7 different things. I think it's a fairly amazing image, and this is what you get with groups. So one of the reasons that she gets so many views on it is because those of us who like cloning are a member of that group. So a targeted audience will see that targeted photograph, and consequently we will appreciate it more. So in that maybe category is what I would call photography sharing sites like Flickr. Now, what you're not going to see on Flickr, you're not going to see TikToks, you're not going to see Reels, you're just going to see photographs. And that's kind of one of the reasons that I appreciate that. When I talked about Instagram chasing the algorithm, Instagram is constantly chasing what's popular. And Instagram lost out to TikTok. TikTok has taken off on some next levels, if you will. So Instagram had to come back with something really quickly, and now they call it Reels. So I notice when I go into my feed now on Instagram, I see a lot of these, I don't know what they are, 20, 30-second videos, Reels, because Instagram wants to keep you on that platform. They don't want you leaving to go over to do something like TikTok. This is one of the concerns if the only place you post your photographs are on platforms that are constantly changing, like Facebook changed, like Instagram is now saying videos, particularly short videos, short funny videos, are more important to us than photographs. Then you could lose out there. So having a site in the maybe category means you don't really need a website, but you can still post your stuff, cost you nothing, and the right audience is going to see it. One word of caution with some of these sites like Flickr is that just like Instagram, they make the rules. You have to follow those rules. There was a time when you could upload as many photographs as you wanted on Flickr. Not so anymore. Now you're limited to 1,000. Anything above 1,000, and you have to get a pro account. So not a big deal, but kind of a big deal. In other words, they could change up a month from now and say, you know what, we're going to make that 1,100. What are you to do? So you have to be cognizant of what the rules are in those areas for photography-centric sites. For the most part, they are very good, but remember, whoever the host is owns all the rights and privileges of those sites. That takes us to the yes, you need a website. There are 2 primary reasons you would need a website. One is if you're going to do business on any level in photography. You're going to be a wedding photographer, or you're going to be an events photographer, or a portrait photographer, a sports photographer. If you're charging for your services, you definitely want to get a website for you. The second reason for having a website is total control of your art, of your imagery. So what I talked about with Instagram, what I talked about with Flickr, those platforms own everything within those domains. On a website, it's your content. You put up what you want, the way that you want to, and there are no changes to it. Yes, you're going to pay for that, but it doesn't take a whole lot of money, in my opinion. A website might not be as hard as you think it is. It definitely was easier than I thought, because my logic was, listen, I'm a photographer. I don't want to spend a bunch of time learning code and doing all these things, or becoming familiar with WordPress, I think it is. I need an easy button, but I want it to look professional. And nowadays you can do that. So I'm going to show you real quickly what I use. I do use Squarespace, not sponsored. So I'll walk you through just how easy it was to set up and why it's important to me. Let's take a look at the price. What does it cost for something like Squarespace? It's pretty easy. If you pay monthly, it's $12 a month. If you pay annually for the monthly, I should say. If you go monthly, the same thing is $16 a month. So the moral of that story is pay it annually. Very simple. You hit the get started button and you just follow where it takes you. It's going to walk you through everything that you need to do to begin. It's going to take you to an area with a bunch of templates. Any template can do. You can use an events template for a photographer, or you can use a storefront. You can use whichever one you like the most. It doesn't matter. The templates are very easy to modify. So we pop over to my website, which was designed on Squarespace using one of those templates, and it's a pretty easy walkthrough. Again, if I can do this, anybody can do this. So we start off, you look up here at the upper right, it's pretty simple. I've got some folders with some photos in them. I made one that's called Athletics, just to take or to post pictures of the athletes or sporting events that I have photographed that are important to me. Again, you know, that's why you have a website. This is important to you. This is your portfolio, folks. This is what you want people to see if they come to see you. Same thing with models. I have a folder for them. Very easy to post here, and they all keep their original shape. In addition to models, I have a folder for nighttime. You know, you change the background to black. You can put what you want in there for any type of long exposure photography. I've got portraits, right? Really, really simple. Some of my favorite portraits, again, my site. These are just portraits that I'm very proud of, shots that I've taken that mean something to me, and I can swap them out, change them at any time. In addition to portraits, I also have a folder underneath photographs called World Travel. And when you look at World Travel, it's just some of the places that I visited and some photographs that I've captured that are meaningful to me. Some of these you have seen in some of my other conversations. One of them we just had a little while ago. So once you get past the folders, up again, same thing in the top right of my landing site, you know, is where you just navigate. So if you go over to Influencer, that's where I have all my contact stuff. So right here in the middle, if you click that, it takes you straight to my YouTube channel. If you scroll down, my social media posts also come directly to my website. Here at the top, all of my Instagram posts are right there. If you scroll down, these right here are my Twitter posts, and they're all connected to this website. So it's like a hub. If you go back up to the right again and you go next, there's an About Me, which is a short video that I've made that shows some of the highlights of me doing some stuff. I have a contact page, which is very simple, very clean. Just send an email, tell me what it is you'd like to talk about, and I will respond. If you click over on the left, it takes you back to the landing page. Get right back to the middle, I've got this blue button. If you click that, it takes you right to my most recent YouTube video. Up on the right, my social media. If you click on this one, you'll see my Twitter feed, and it is live right from the website. If you click on this one, it takes you straight to my YouTube feed, also live and also right from the website. And if you click on the last one, it'll take you to my Flickr feed, which is also live, and you saw that where we started before. So the key for me to having a website is that it's the hub. You know, and one big takeaway, having a website doesn't mean you don't have these other things. I still have an Instagram site, and you know I'm really active on Flickr. But what the website gives me is a one-stop shop, if you will, one place to go for everything. If you didn't know anything else and you went to rustybrownphotography.com, everything that I do in the photographic world would be there. It would be a jumping off point. So you could come there if you were only interested in YouTube, and it would take you there. If you were only interested in my Twitter feed, you could find it here and take it there. So you don't have to remember my Instagram handle, my YouTube handle, my Twitter handle, my Flickr. You don't have to remember all those if you simply remember rustybrownphotography.com. To me, that is a huge advantage of having a website. Yes, I do some business via the site. No, photography isn't my business. Understand the difference? So you don't see a whole lot on the business side there outside of contact me, tell me what it is you're interested in. I'll put together a quote for you, and if we can come to some terms, I will do that shoot for you. I don't advertise that portion on my website. I'm more interested in what's in my portfolio. What are the things that I want you to know? If there's a downside to the website, it's nobody goes there to view your work unless they're really, really interested in your work. I still go to the websites of some of the photographers that I follow because I enjoy their work and their portfolios are meaningful to me. It's not a place that you go for likes in those types of things. You want to see some really good photographs, look at the portfolios of the photographers that you follow. if you ask me where I post the most, it is not on my website. It's actually on Flickr. Because what I do with the website is I try to reserve that for the most important images to me, the ones that I think are portfolio worthy. What I put on Flickr is a lot more because I'm telling more stories, and these things are very important. They're good photographs, but they may not be portfolio worthy. So if I'm only posting in one place, it's going to be on Flickr as I slowly get away from posting on Instagram. So to the question, does a photographer need a website? It really is yes, no, maybe, and it all depends on you and where you are in your photography journey. Clearly there are some that don't need one at all. And you could be in the no realm, either being a 100% Instagram person or Instagram combined with a photo sharing site like Flickr. Yes, for business. Yes, for total control and ownership. They can't change the rules on you. And the costs, as we talked about, it shows $144 a year, but there's actually several places you can get a 10% discount. If you don't know where those are for Squarespace, contact me. I will tell you. I'm not going to put it here because they don't sponsor me, but I know several places where I can get you 10% off. So $130 a year for an easy, really easy to set up site that's yours forever. You're going to spend more than that in a year on coffee. So it really depends on where you are in your journey. Again, I don't do this for a living, but it's important enough to me to have one. So with that, let me know what your thoughts are. Do you have a website, number one? And if you do or you don't, why or why not? What is your go-to posting site? Is it something like an Instagram or Facebook, or have you migrated into something like a Flickr? And when I say that, be advised that there are brand-specific photo sharing sites also, meaning I'm a Sony shooter, right? So I'm also a member of a Sony site called B Alpha, where people who are Sony shooters post some of the images that they've taken, and Sony has a way of authenticating that photograph. They're just picking up the metadata to confirm that the shots were taken with a Sony, and then they post it to other Sony shooters. Canon has something similar, Nikon has something similar, Pentax, whatever brand you shoot with, you can also find that too, so you don't have to be stuck to any one platform. Let me know what you guys think about that. Let me know how you feel about websites and whether or not it's something you're interested in. Is it too expensive? Are there reasons you would never do it, or have you been doing it a long time? Again, I really do appreciate you guys being here. If you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe so that I can continue to bring you more content like this. I hope to see you sometime in the near future. In the meantime, keep shooting. God bless. We'll see you later.